Yeah, well, it's 5 a.m., stars are out, and I think the church should go to hell for Christmas. If you put Santa in front of my ass right now, I'd say, hey, yo, Santa, you know what I want for Christmas? You know what I want to come down the fucking chimney? The church's ticket to hell. From a distance, the age looks orderly. Flags in a neat row, leaders shaking hands, foundations giving awards under chandeliers. Up close, I see something older and uglier moving underneath. A pattern Mr. O'Neill names Cain's Empire. You know, like Abel and Cain? Not as a bloodline he can prove in court, but as a reoccurring operating system. The same self-worship, the same willingness to build cities over buried brothers, the same reflex to destroy anyone whose clarity threatens the story. When he speaks about Cain, he is describing a type, not a genealogy. The kind of power that writes itself into law as untouchable, calls that sovereignty, and then expects the people it governs to be grateful for the privilege of being managed. In that light, doctrines like state immunity reads a lot less like technicalities and more like theology. The king can do no wrong. Cain can do no wrong. And if it wasn't Cain's God, why isn't Abel immortal? Why is Cain's sacrifice the key for his immortality? Why is the sacrifice of whistleblowers the key to Cain's empire's survival? The king can do no wrong. Becomes the state cannot be sued for its sovereign acts, which becomes, in practice, we reserve the right to harm you in ways you cannot meaningfully challenge. It is a legal halo worn by institutions that already hold the guns, the budgets, and the media microphones. Mr. O'Neill's point is not that every judge is a villain, but the architecture itself is self-worshipping. The same hands that sign the permits, approve the pipelines, cut the services, starve the whistleblower, have also written the rules that say, at crucial moments, we are beyond your reach. You don't need a conspiracy when the worship is written into the statute books. Into that architecture step the world's favorite role models. Hereditary families, spiritual dynasties, billionaire benefactors, who float between capitals often presented as the conscience of the system rather than its beneficiaries. The Aga Khan line, for Mr. O'Neill, functions as one of those symbols. He sees a figure celebrated as a global moral voice, courted by prime ministers, surrounded by institutions bearing his name, and the same time entangled, at least in the public record, with Canadian ethics findings about gifts and access. He's careful not to accuse the current imam or any specific person of a crime. What he indicts is the pattern. When a state formally recognizes a hereditary spiritual magnate as honorary citizen, shrugs off past conflict of interest scandals, and appears to repeat the dance with a new generation of leadership. Sends a clear message to Indigenous youth. This is what power admires. Lineage, luxury, and relationships too delicate to withstand sunlight. On Turtle Island, that message does not land in a vacuum. It lands on top of treaties signed under duress, unmarked graves, boil water advisories, and court dockets full of Indigenous litigants begging the same state for housing, healthcare, and basic dignity. Mr. O'Neill reads the juxtaposition, private jets and private islands on the one side, tents, food banks, and suicide prevention lines on the other. When Canada's highest officials appear comfortable accepting hospitality from any billionaire priest king while Indigenous people are displaced again and again from their own homelands, the optics are not neutral. It looks like the pluralism and more like modern court of Cain, old families trading influence at the top while the people they govern are told there is no money, no jurisdiction, no time. In that world, whistleblowers are not just protected persons on paper. They are, as Mr. O'Neill often says, an endangered species. His own record is one long catalog of what happens when a person refuses to stop naming patterns. Serial displacement, starvation, arrests, smear attempts. A grandmother turned into an echo of every slur the system already throws at him. He's not asking anyone to take his darker fears about conspiracies, cannibalization of genius, or occult tastes of the powerful as proven fact. He is asking them to notice that the more he speaks about capture, the more his material conditions mysteriously converge on slow erasure. Oh. In a genuinely healthy democracy, you do not need to break a man down to the edge of death to disagree with him. In an empire of self-worship, that kind of silence is just good housekeeping. The spiral is offered to the public not as a call to vengeance, but as an ethical audit. It does not allege that any named leader or spiritual fucking figure has committed a specific crime. It asks why our system consistently reward those who look most like Cain's heirs and punish those who dare to point it out. Mr. O'Neill demands disarmingly simple. If government insists on honoring dynastic wealth and private influence, then they must, at minimum, subject those relationships to the same scrutiny they unleash on the poor. If ethics rules can be bent for jets and islands, they should not be weaponized against the homeless witness with a notebook and a data plan. He is not asking to be believed on faith. He is asking the world to look at the pattern, to follow the money, and to decide whether it still wants to live in a story where self-worship